So I'm just going to do a quick video about some thoughts I've had about the topic of hair loss. And I'm going to talk more widely about what I think is a bit of a trend going on with sort of stuff associated with aging, and my sort of skepticism around it, and kind of what I think, like things you can do to stop hair loss that, I haven't really, that I think that like has a lot of credit, and I think it's really interesting. So basically, I'm just going to start this off by saying, I always thought that like hair loss was kind of just an inevitable thing, like it was genetic or whatever. But I've got more and more skeptical about it as time's gone on. And I think a lot of stuff that is associated with aging is often people put way too much burden on the fact that it's age related, and not enough on the fact that it's habit related. And like the thing is, you can't have one without the other. Does that make sense? So I think let's take something like back pain, a slightly more clear example. Now there are two things you need to get back pain. One, you need like bad habits, sitting at a desk, looking at your phone, whatever. But then you also need the length of time in which you're doing that bad habit. So, you need both to have back pain. And so like back in the day, obviously old people typically have, back pain. And it's because that's accumulated over their life of doing things like sitting down at a desk, or like straining the back too much when they were younger. And over the years, that's eventually caught up with them. What's interesting about back pain for our generation, which I think illustrates my point, is that you get a lot of young people who have bad backs because they've been doing habits that are even more dangerous than our like predecessors when it comes to back pain, because we're on our phones looking down like that. We've done that for a short amount of time, but it's caught up with us a lot quicker because it's a worse habit. But it's still doing it for a length of time that makes it that. Does that make sense, guys? It's a bit of a weird thing to explain. I think another example is like sort of getting more sort of frail when you're old, like looking worse. I think a big part of looking worse, to be honest, is just drinking alcohol. It makes you less healthy. Your skin looks worse. You lose that kind of glow about you. Blah blah blah. And often people will be like, they'll sort of they'll look sort of like they've aged by the time they're like 25. But is it because age, they're just getting older, and 25 you naturally look older? Or is it that they've just been drinking since they were 16? And that's, doing that for a length of time has been what has made it happen. You know what I mean? So I do think you've got to get into account like the time you're spending doing bad habits plays a role in these things that are seen as like inevitable markers of aging. And stuff like looking worse. I've talked about back pain. And I think hair loss is another one of them. Just on that note, quickly actually, Hamza did a big video. I think it was great, really one of his best videos, where he talks about like his girlfriend was saying how she was worried about like losing her looks as she got older. And Hamza said exactly what I'm saying here, that like it's not so much the age you are, but more like the time you spent doing bad habits. So like if you're 25 and you're going out drinking every night, you're not getting up early, looking after your health, like you will look worse when you hit 30. But if you're doing good habits, getting up early, cold showers, whatever, you're going to look older when you hit that age, but you won't. There's so many markers of aging that you won't have because you're healthy, you're living a healthy life. And anyway, I think hair loss is another one of these things. Because like I say, guys, I really thought hair loss was just genetics. I thought it was like something about your parents. I think it's like your genetics of your maternal grandfather. Your maternal grandfather. Like that's just sort of a genetic thing that you inherit, much like how your hair color. That's kind of how we often think of hair loss as it's like as inherent genetically as like what hair color you have. And I'm not saying there isn't a genetic component in it, obviously there is. But I don't know. I think there's so much to do with like lifestyle, and if you just like to look at it from afar, like what is attractive about hair? Like why does it look good to have hair? And I think it's because it makes you look sort of healthy. It's an indicator of health, right? Like if you touch someone's hair and it feels sort of springy and like nice and clean, it's almost like a marker that they're healthy. And I think that's why hair's evolved to stay on our heads, because it's a good marker of that. And so I just think to me, it just seems more and more like just another thing that we're kind of taught is like, hair loss is another one of those things that we're taught that just sort of is a inevitable part of aging. But more and more, I just think if you do the right habits early on, you don't have to worry about it. Or at least you're sort of mitigating the chances of it happening. So again, I'm really early on in this. I don't know much about it at all. But I'm just going to go through a few things that I think, like, if you're worried about hair loss and you're not doing these things, I think it's just silly. And my attitude towards, like, sort of hair health and keeping hair and whatever is, like, yeah, sure there's a genetic component, but I should do all the right things first, if that makes sense, and, leave the rest to fate. So the first thing, I think, is something quite radical, but that is to just get rid of shampoo. So the body doesn't really need shampoo to keep hair clean. I don't really know the science behind it, but it's basically, it's very synthetic. Like, look at the ingredients list of a shampoo. Like, there's no way all that stuff is healthy. It's, I think before the 50s, people didn't really use it. It was quite a modern invention. I was watching one of Carl Rahm's videos about this, where he goes into lots of depth in it. If I remember, I'll have a little link. You can check that video out as well. So yeah, that's the first thing to do. Just get rid of shampoo and conditioner. Your body doesn't actually need it. If you can just go on a fast of shampoo for about 30 days, in the short term, your hair will get really greasy. And it'll look shit, I'm not going to lie to you. But long term, it will, your body will sort of acclimatise to it. And it will look a lot better, especially if you wash your hair in cold water. So that's what I do. Like, I don't use shampoo anymore. I just wash it in cold water, and it feels so much more oil-free, like so much cleaner than it ever did with shampoo. So that's the first thing I'll say to do. If you want to speed up the process, one thing you can do is just shave your hair off, and then so it gets to a stage where it doesn't need to like be clean, right? And then by the time it grows back, your body would have the hair would have slowly acclimatized to being clean. So just get rid of shampoo. Lots of nasty things that's going to be bad for your hair follicles. That's step number one. The next thing I would say to do is mitigate the effects of stress on hair loss. So obviously we all know this, right? Like, stress has a big play on hair loss. Like, you see these cartoons of like people like sort of who are like getting really stressed out and they kind of lose their hair. That's kind of expression, isn't it? This is kind of accepted that this happens, but we don't really think about why it happens. Like, why would stress give your hair, like, make you lose your hair? There's something very intuitive that sort of makes sense that stress does do that. But like, actually sit and think about it. Why is stress related to hair loss? I didn't really have an answer, but what I think it is now, having like done a bit of research, is it's to do with literally just like bodily tension. So when you're stressed, you sort of tense up. Well, actually, this is kind of a side thing, but basically, a lot of stress just culminates in the front of your body. So you crease your brow, you clench your jaw, you clench your chest, you round your chest over. You know, a lot of stress is sort of culminated in the body, in the front half of your body, and a big secret to sort of just living. Just embracing stress is just sort of opening up the front of your body. That's why it's good to do yoga, open up your chest and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, a big thing with stress is you clench your jaws, and you can, if you get stressed quite a lot, you can feel your jaw, like there's a lot of tension. Like I sometimes do this, I just sort of massage my jaw here, and I can just feel like all this tension around my face. That's just sort of accumulated because when I've been stressed, I'm sort of clenching my jaw. And yeah, this basically what happens is your jaw gets tense, and then that sort of stretches the skin on the top of your head. And that damages the hair follicles, which inhibits their growth, and it means your hair falls out. So what a weird thing, right? Like, it's so funny, I didn't really realise that was the reason, but that makes sense. And that's why often bald people have quite like, shiny heads, because the skin's been stretched by the sort of tenseness in the jaw. It's quite a grim picture for you there, guys. Do apologise. But yeah, anyway, so as far as I can see, there are sort of two things you can do to mitigate the impact that stress has on. Well, three things you can do. Let's go through it. Three things you can do to mitigate the impact of stress on hair loss. One is like the presence of stress in your life in the first place. So one thing you can do is just make sure you're not in a very stressful environment. Now, I've got a lot of time for this. Like, I do think you don't want to just run into stressful situations unprepared. The trouble is, I think if you want anything in life, like if you want to live like an exciting, interesting life where you live up to your full potential, you're going to have to go through a certain amount of stress. So I do think just don't go blindly into stressful situations, for sure. But I think one way or another, you're going to have to jump into some kind of stressful situation in your life. So I don't really see this as being like a great option for improving hair loss. But it's definitely worth thinking about it, you know. And definitely don't bite off more than you can chew when it comes to stressful situations. But ultimately, if you are on self-improvement, you know, you do want to make the most of your life, you're going to have to go through some kind of stress at some point, you know. But the second thing I think is much more useful is your ability to handle stress. So this is stuff like just, I think the biggest way to handle stress is mindfulness meditation. So finding a way out of your sort of problem-seeking brain and back into your body. So just doing stuff like meditating. I've been off meditation for like a while. I haven't really had time to do it, but I'm getting back on it now, and it's really great. I do think it's really difficult to get onto meditation, but once you get those results from it, like it just completely changes your life, because you just have a way to calm down that is so powerful. And if you can control your anxiety through meditation, you can put yourself through stressful situations and remain relatively stoic. So that's really the aim, I think. Find some way to deal with stress. I think the best way is meditation. You could do breathing exercises, stuff like the Wim Hof exercises. You can just look up YouTube, sort of free breathing exercises. All sorts of things like that really help as well. Finding ways to just de-stress yourself after a long day. I think learning to read, that's a great way to de-stress. I think most people just don't know how to read like properly. So sit down and read a book. So I think finding books that you can read, that's a really great way to de-stress. Stuff like that. Yeah, finding ways to wind down that isn't going on your phone, because that's not de-stressing, guys. Let's be honest. If you come home after a long day and resist the urge to go on your phone, and instead just do something that's like mindful or enjoyable, like something creative or reading or something like that, that's much better. That's going to mean you have a much better relationship with the stressful environment you're in. That's the kind of thing you can do to mitigate stressful situations you're in. But do you see the difference, guys? You're not avoiding stressful situations, but you're sort of finding a way to keep your body relaxed when you're in stressful situations. Now, the third thing is kind of a step after that, where you put yourself through stressful situations, and your body is reacting to it, because basically the mind and the body react the same way, right? So your body's reacting to it, you're tensing your jaw, your jaw's tense, you've accumulated a lot of tension in your body. So it's too late to kind of get rid of that stress, in theory. There's a third thing you can do, which is just relaxing the body, your face basically. And you can do this by giving yourself sort of massages. So you can literally do this when you wash your hair. So basically, if you wash your hair just without any shampoo, what you want to do is just really sort of massage the hair, and kind of if you haven't done it before, like, it feels quite sort of relaxing just to do that. So that's one thing you can do. Another thing you can do is just kind of, sometimes I just do this, kind of massage the jaws, the muscles. You feel the muscles in my jaw. I just massage those a bit. I don't know if that's like, I haven't seen that recommended to do anywhere. I just can't do it because it feels nice, but that's one that you can try as well. And then the other thing I'd say to do is you can get like just a head massager. So like, this is on my list of things to get. There's basically, it's kind of a, it's like a kind of thing with like these metal spikes with like sort of round ball at the end, and you just kind of put it on your head like that, and it feels really like relaxing to do that as well. So yeah, that's kind of the next stage, is just getting rid of the muscle tension that's accumulated in your scalp as a result of stress. So I think those two things, they're going to really help you with stress. And the third thing you can do is to comb your hair. And this sounds so funny, but I think, yeah, it's funny because for a while I just didn't really comb my hair. I didn't really think I needed to. And I kind of had this weird idea that, like, if I combed my hair, I was plucking up hair follicles in my head. So surely that was bad for like hair health. But like, think about it, guys. If you have like a plant, if you prune the bits of the plant that have like where the leaves are dying, then the leaves that are growing, like, they grow back stronger. And like, that's a really important part of keeping care of a house plant, or just any plant for that matter. Is like, if something's withering and dying, like, you just pluck it out and just keep the healthy stuff. And it's the exact same with combing your hair. You know, like, you're just getting rid of all the bits of hair that are going to fall out anyway, and that's making way for sort of new hair follicles. And I think of this a bit like kind of, yeah, it's so funny because people are so sad when they lose their hair. But it's like, you didn't take care of it at the time, you know what I mean? It's like, if, that's kind of cruel to say, I know, but let's say like someone is in a relationship with someone and they don't give them any time. You know, they don't give them the attention and love that they need, and that person leaves the relationship. You know, the person's going to feel really sad then, because it's like they didn't put any time into the relationship while they had them. And it's like, it's the exact same thing. If you're not going to put in the effort to do it, like, your hair, see your hair as a bit like a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever. You know, you need to give it love and attention. You need to look after it. And doing stuff like combing it, just these healthy habits that kind of feel a bit, you know, oh, do I really need to comb it? Like, makes a huge difference. So that is everything, I think, guys. I was wondering if there's anything else I was going to add. Yeah. Oh yeah, one more thing. This is actually really key, is to have a shower filter. So obviously a lot of people know about like the tap water is quite bad. It has sort of, there's a lot of stuff that isn't filtered out from tap water. Obviously we you know, it filters out like diseases and stuff like that, which is, you know, a good thing. But there's lots of stuff that it doesn't filter out, like one of those things is birth control. So when women secrete birth control into water, into sort of sewage systems through their urine, that doesn't get filtered out by a water filtration plant. So basically, in a very diluted form. You're drinking birth control stuff when you're drinking water. You've got fluorides, chlorine, stuff like that. That's not really good for you. So obviously a lot of people filter out their water. That's a really good idea. But one thing that we don't think so much about is the water we're like that same water when we're getting washed. And the truth is, this is also very bad for us as well. I don't know if you've ever had you've had a shower and then afterwards you feel a bit itchy. I get that from time to time, and I think it's because you've got all these chemicals in the water that aren't good for your skin. And it's funny, I went on holiday recently to Wales, just for like a camping trip for a weekend, and I went swimming in the water there, and it was just it felt so good because we were in this really remote part of Wales, and there were no contaminants in the water, just the sea was completely clean. And I was just like, wow, this is what it's like to swim in like non-contaminated water. So anyway, when it comes to hair loss, like it's still all these chemicals getting into your hair while you're washing it. Like it's great you're not using shampoo now, but there's still chlorine in your hair while you're washing it without shampoo. So if you want to go the extra mile, invest in a good shower filter. Again, this is another thing on my list of investments that I have to buy. I'm going to get one at some point, and that's going to be really good, not just for my skin, but also for my scalp health as well. And yeah, that is everything, guys. So I hope you enjoy this video. I hope you find it interesting. I don't know like what extent this stuff is like, like what stuff's going to make the biggest amount of difference, how much oil is going to make an influence. I don't really, I'm still very early on in this journey at the moment, but this is the stuff that I see as like you should do if you want to like keep your hair health, like keep your hair, and the like people don't talk about, and like just to round this all off, and I'm going to make another video more generally about like aging and like, but like I do think people are just going back to what I said earlier. People are so sad when they lose their hair. It's such a it's a shit thing to have happen to you. But I do think like it's so funny because we're so sad. People are so sad about it, but we don't just spend 5 minutes thinking about stuff we can do in the here and now. Really simple stuff we can do just to help our hair health today. And it's so funny because everyone's talking about things like taking minoxidil, like getting those little sort of spike rollers on your hair, stuff like that, hair transplants, hair tattoos, whatever, and all this stuff are great. And I was thinking about talking to them as well, but I just wanted to talk about like the real basics of like fundamental, of health. And I do think like a lot of this stuff, you just don't worry about all this complicated stuff. Just focus on the basics. And yeah, it's just like. It's so shit if you lose your hair, but people just kind of accept it, like, oh, just getting older now. But it's like, mate, did you like, you're washing your hair in chlorine for, God knows how long, you're working a really stressful job, getting 5 hours of sleep every night, didn't spend any time de-stressing or relaxing your body, like, what do you mean it's inevitable? Like, you should, focus on doing this stuff. And like, who knows, like if you are watching this as someone who's lost your hair or like is, really losing it, like try some of this stuff. And like, I'd be interested to know like what kind of effect it has, because, apart from one video by Carl Rahm that I watched, I see so few people talking about this kind of stuff, as a way to keep your hair. And so yeah, let me know, like in the comments, send me an email, see how this stuff has worked for you. And, yeah, again, I'm not saying this stuff is going to work, but I just think until you do all this basic stuff, you shouldn't be like stressing about losing your hair, because it's just such easy stuff you can spend time doing. And yeah, so anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Yeah, I really enjoyed making it. Actually, it's been really interesting, and I'll see you in the next one.